Shabbat Shalom to those joining us in Finchley Progressive Synagogue today on Hutton Grove, and those who are joining us virtually on Zoom and on every other kind of streaming platform that we can find to get our services out to the congregation wherever you may be. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. It's my pleasure to invite Annabelle Robin to begin our service by lighting the Shabbat candles. Amen. Thank you, Annabelle. The Sabbath has descended to enfold us in its mantle of peace. It brings to us the precious gift of time to embrace family and friends, to reflect more deeply on the meaning and purpose of our lives, and to worship in the beauty of holiness. May our Sabbaths always be sanctuaries of love and devotion, bringing contentment to our hearts, happiness to our homes, and blessings to our people. We are at the top of page 76. If you are not in the congregation, where you are not allowed to sing even now, please consider joining me in Shalom Aleichem. This is a song which I actually didn't learn until I was in college, where I was active in the Jewish student group. We used to host Friday night dinners. There was a Jewish interest house where a couple of Jewish students lived every year. We always got the same house because it was the only one with 2 sinks in the kitchen. And every Friday night, the Jewish students would gather, someone would volunteer to make a meal for us, and we would start with Shalom Aleichem. It became ingrained in my brain very deeply, and somehow it became the sound of the beginning of the Sabbath for me, to the point where when I got married, married Megan, started my own family, I often find myself humming or singing it at the beginning of a Friday night. As you will soon hear, I am not a very good singer, and it got to the point where my wife and then eventually my children, who are much more musical than I am, would say, "Daddy, please stop singing that." So here we go. Please join me. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Havsharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're on page 78. Show yourself, beloved, and spread over me the shelter of your peace. Illumine the world with your presence, and we will rejoice and be glad in you. Hurry, loved one. The holy day has come. Be gracious to us as in days of old, as we welcome Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. Kala Thank you, David, and not Dean. Those of you who are following in the chat will have caught on to the wheeze that's just gone on. Dean has the night off. Dean has the night off, I said. Once he starts, he just can't stop. Dean almost never takes a day off between music teaching and leading us in and song and prayer here. So Dean has the night off, and luckily we have recordings of him, so you will get to hear him instead of me for most of the singing tonight. But it is a recording. Please be patient with us as we work out the tech there. Our service continues on page 92, where we offer the Shema. If you are at home and you are in the habit of rising, standing, please stand for this. In the congregation, please stand. Wherever you are, please rise for the Shema. On page 92, Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMavorach, Baruch Adonai HaMavorach Leolam Va'ed. Praise the one to whom our praise is due. We praise the Eternal One, to whom our praise is due forever. Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling away light from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and you separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. In a moment, we will have Virtual Dean lead us in Ahavat Olam, but before we do, I'm just going to draw our attention to what this prayer says, because I'm going to come back to it briefly when I talk about the theme of the night. But the theme of this prayer that I invite us to consider as we listen to Dean sing it and join in, if we are at home, is that because God loves us, God has given us commandments. God has given us rules to follow out of love. And as we mark what some are calling Freedom Day in England, I think it's an interesting question to consider the relationship between love and freedom and rules. So, if Virtual Dean could lead us in Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amet Avta Avta Ra'u mitzvot ukimu mishpatim otanu limadeta
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We're at the top of page 94 for the Shema. Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavcha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantan levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shiftika b'beitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'shachbecha u'v'komecha. U'kshatam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, u'chtavtam al mizuzot b'beitecha, u'vishorecha. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Emet. Please be seated. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we, Israel, are your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. There we are again. Service, freedom, rules. We'll get back to that. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, and then, full of joy, we sang together, Micha Mocha. At the top of page 96, V'ne'eman kifaya Adonai et Yaakov, v'ga'alenu miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And Dean will now help us to offer Hashkivenu. Baruch atah Adonai, haporesh sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. We come to the tefillah at the top of page 97. Please rise. For the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon. Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei HaKol, ve'Zocher Chaste Avot ve'imaot, u'mevi ge'ula livnei v'nehem, lema'an shemo be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye metim ata rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach umorid hageshem, mazriach hashemesh umorid hatal. Mechalkei chayim bechesed, mechaye metim berachamim rabim, somech noflim urofech holim, umatir asurim, umikaye emunato lishenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, umi domelach, melech memit, umichaye umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata lechayot metim, Baruch ata Adonai mechaye hametim. Kadosh ata v'nora shemo ve'ein lanu Elohei mibaladecha. Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and in meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace. Our God and God of our mothers and fathers, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha beyira na'avod. It is our custom, it is our minhag at Finchley Progressive Synagogue to think back at this point on the week just gone by and to share with the rest of the congregation any good news, celebrations, joys, achievements, accomplishments, your own or those of those who are close to you. So if you take a moment to just pop into the chat, if you are here with us virtually, and share with us something nice that's happened this week, I think that would be a lovely way to look back on the week just gone. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu le'olam va'ed, tzur chayenu, magen yushenu, atahu ledor vador, nodeh lecha u'nisaper tehilatecha al chayenu hamisurim beyadecha, ve'al nishmotenu ve'hapikudot lach, ve'al nisecha shebachol yom imanu, Va'al niflotecha v'tovotecha shebechol et erev v'avoker v'tzohorayim. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'eh lehodot. And we'll have Dean lead us in Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. 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 Ki atahu melech Adon bechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon bechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam.
Baruch atah Adonai, oseh hashalom. So as I've been hinting, I have been thinking this week about freedom. Monday was what some, I think understandably, some people in England have been calling Freedom Day. But I think it's important for all of us to remember that freedom is not a simple thing. Freedom to, freedom from. There are, of course, many, many people who will be delighted that the rules in England have been lifted and replaced with recommendations for personal responsibility, and I think that is a wonderful thing for many, many people. There are people who are not ready for unrestrained freedom, who are nervous, who are apprehensive, who do not feel that things are as they were before and may never be. And it's important to remember that those people are among us. And it has had me, as I've been muttering throughout the service, thinking about the Jewish relationship between freedom and responsibility and God and mitzvot. Because the Jewish sense of freedom is not exactly the same as our British, English, American, Western European, post-Enlightenment sense of freedom. Jewish freedom is a very rules-based thing. And there is a sense that God made us free. There's a strong rabbinic tradition that God gave us our freedom by giving us commandments and mitzvot. And everybody, I'm sure, will know the story about God shopping around the Ten Commandments and going to one tribe and saying, I'm God, I am the creator of heaven and earth, and I have these commandments, and I'm looking for a people to enter into a covenant with me. Would you like my 10 commandments? And the tribe says, well, what's in them? And God says, well, it says you cannot kill. And the tribe says, well, I'm sorry, we're warriors, and we live by killing, and so thank you very much, but see if you can find somebody else to take your commandments. And God goes to another tribe and says, I'm the creator of heaven and earth, I've got these commandments, I'm looking to have a covenant relationship with a people, would you accept my 10 commandments? And the tribe says, well, what's in them? And God says, well, it says you shall not steal. And the tribe says, we're really sorry, but we're raiders and we're scavengers. We survive by stealing from the other tribes. So sorry, thanks anyway, but we're not going to take your commandments. God goes to the Hebrews, to the Israelites, and says, I am God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, and I'm looking for a people to have a covenant relationship with. I will be their God, they will be my people. Would you accept my 10 commandments? And the Hebrews say, well, how much do they cost? God says they're free. The Hebrews say, okay, we'll take them. So here we are in a covenant relationship with God, who has made us free by giving us commandments, by giving us responsibility to our fellow men and women. So I think that's a thing to think about as we move into a new world in England anyway. I know people may be joining us from many places. I see we're being joined from Italy, which is about to have a different kind of freedom with vaccine passports of a kind to go out in public. But I'll just share a few words from David Hoffman of Jewish Theological Seminary, not our incredible shofar-blowing David Hoffman, but a different David Hoffman, who writes this. Like every human relationship, a relationship with God limits our freedom. Lovers, friends, mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, every human relationship that we freely enter into and continue to be engaged with limits our choices and inevitably comes with responsibilities. And yet, we choose to voluntarily enter these relationships. Ultimately, we believe that a life lived in relationship, deeply connected and responsible to someone, is more meaningful than a life lived where we may possess the unconstrained freedom to act. I will leave you with that thought from David Hoffman of JTS as we begin our silent prayer.
Adonai Tori, Adonai Tori, Ulraton, Irefi. Vegnon libi, lefanecha, Adonai Tori, Vego Ali, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם. הוא עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
And I'll just share a few of the congregation's good things this week. Josie writes, TG is this, I think this is Tracy, reached the end of term and both daughters and one son-in-law can enjoy the next 6 weeks and their children, which is exactly the same in my family, so thank you for sharing that. Caroline and John, happy to be home safe in Italy. Be the first time we'll be celebrating Mom's birthday without her on Sunday. Thankful for the memories. And thank you for sharing that, Caroline, and we're all thinking of you. Rebecca is away this week. I think she's in Wales now, but she thinks she's grateful that Ruben arrived home safe and sound from South America today. From South America today, yes. Patricia to have joined the meditation group for a meal yesterday, which sounds lovely. And Josie has a comment on my story. I'll talk to you about this offline later. Josie, thank you very much. Ho, ho, ho. Kathy, grateful not to have broken her toe on the spin bike. So grateful the pain is gone. Kathy, that's great. Good to hear. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Josie. So thank you for everybody who's shared good things, and I hope everybody has had something good to look back on this week. This week of not simple freedom. Our service continues on page 520 with Aleinu. Please stand. Dean will lead us in Aleinu on page 520.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו ליחד את שמו, ונור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ונור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתפנים ומודים
Life is finite. Like a candle, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. Then it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. This week we are marking the yahrzeits of Richard Golding, the father of Paul Golding, Simon Lesser, the brother of Sheila King Lassman, of Gertrude Mickles Webb, the mother of Sarah Rosen Webb, of Henry Newman, the father of Melvin Newman, of Jeffrey Rosenbaum, the father of Claire Pierce, of Sidney Sampson, the father of Valerie Boyd Hellner, of Michael Silver, the husband of Gloria, father of Sharon, Sean, and Kate, and grandfather of Eden, Jake, Helen, and Maeve, and of Kate Silver, daughter of Gloria and Michael, sister of Sean and Sharon, aunt to Eden, Jake, and Helen, and mother to Maeve. Yet we do not despair, for we know that we are more than a flickering flame. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and light, of death and life. As in our hearts we name our loved ones, we pray that the divine presence will comfort us and all who mourn as we offer the Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei de kol beit Yisrael, bagala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal Shemei de kudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol b'nei adam, v'imru Amen. Please be seated. Do we have announcements on a Friday night? We have no announcements, so I will simply thank everybody who has participated in the service. Bobby, David, and Michael doing the tech. Annabelle, thank you for lighting the candles. Graham, our welcomer. Claire and Josie, I believe, are our online welcomers and hosts. Claudia and Josie. Thank you all, and thank you to everybody who joined and participated in the service today. And Michael is. We finish with Dean. Sorry, I'm watching. Michael is making his way towards me with the Kiddush, which I'm looking forward to. But Dean, take it away.
Simcha Elohim Ephraim V'Gil Menashe Yesim Elohim Kesara V'Kara El Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha Yisrael
Apologies, I've lost my place. We'll do a quick concluding benediction before Kiddush. Yivarechecha b'kol tov, v'yishmerecha mikol ra. May God bless you with all good and keep you from all evil. May God grant your heart the meaning of life. May God teach your heart the meaning of life and grant you knowledge of the infinite. May God reach out to you with tenderness that you may have enduring peace. And I hope that you have your Kiddush prepared at home and can join me for Friday night Kiddush. Thank you, Michael. Vayhi vayhi voker yom hashishi, vaychalu hashamayim, haaretz v'kol tzva'am, vaychal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayishvat bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vaykadesh oto, ki vo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavahanu, v'shabbat kadsho be'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra et kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodeshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.